Hey guys, so this is my first video of my new series, which will be analyzing military quotes and or war quotes. They're, I get what you're thinking, this is a little bit controversial, some of them, and I'm just not going to worry about that. I'm just going to say the quotes how they are, and I'm going to analyze them. So, before anything else, there will be, in some of these videos, there will be PG-13 and above content. So if you're not comfortable with that, you have a warning now, and I will have a warning at the beginning of each video that has that. Actually, all of these videos, because to explain some of these, you need to use some language that is not very appropriate for young viewers. So if you have an issue with that, there will be a warning at the beginning of the video, and it will be your fault for clicking on the video, because it will be in the description and it will be at the beginning of the video that there is certain content in the videos. So now that we've got that out of the way, we will be looking at a quote from someone who a lot of you may have heard of, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard of, and that would be Sun Tzu's. I believe that's how you say it. I'm very bad at Chinese. We'll be looking at one of his quotes today, and if you aren't familiar with him, he is the person who wrote Art of War, which is a very, very influential book about military strategy, and has dozens, if not hundreds, of good quotes that I will be analyzing in this video series. And that's just today. Well, that's just because the book is one of the main things about military strategy, and the other thing is he has some very good knowledge of war. But today we're not going to look at several of them, we're just going to look at one. We're going to be looking at the quote from his book, Art of War: "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." Now, a lot of you may be thinking, well, damn, I've seen this a lot in battles. I mean, think about it. You have all these things, and they're actually fairly good. I mean, sorry about that. Then you have, I just burped, so I don't know if I muted it or not in time. But anyways, back to this. We have, I mean, if you look at history, this quote has been used many times. I mean, if you think about it, Takeo Kurita, who was the Japanese admiral in charge of center force during the battle off Samar, what did he do? He came in and he had an overwhelming force, and he was stronger than the ships in Taffy 3, but he overestimated them because of what Taffy 3 did. Taffy 3, they made themselves look strong, and it was also partially down to the Japanese not figuring out what they were looking at, because the smaller ships, the destroyer escorts and the CVEs, or carrier escorts, or escort carriers, depending on which you want to call it, were not in their identification books, because they tended to only go with the ground fleets. They weren't with, like, 3rd Fleet, which was Halsey's fleet. Halsey, where did I get that? But they didn't recognize these, so they thought that they didn't know what exactly they were, but they saw the Fletcher class vessels, and from the range they were at, they assumed that they were Baltimore class heavy cruisers, which actually posed a threat. And when the Johnston broke out of formation and charged the entire Japanese battle line, Evans, in my opinion, Evans knew that he needed to appear strong, and the only way to do that was to charge the enemy right up the middle and beat the shit out of them. And if you charge right up the middle and you do that, then you have, I mean, that's a pretty ballsy move. If you look at it, he could have, had he survived, he could have been court-martialed for not following orders. But for what his ship did, even if he had survived, it's very unlikely that he would have been court-martialed. And I want to say it, it's very unlikely that anybody who was on any of those ships would have had anything against them if they, like, you know, criminal charges because of what they did. But that's for another video. What we have here, though, is the Johnston. It broke off from the formation and charged the Japanese battle line. Now, you're the Japanese, and you're looking out, and what do you see? You see the ship that you're thinking is a Baltimore-class heavy cruiser, and then you have these carriers, which you think are... You think that these carriers are, you know, fleet carriers. I mean, we're talking about Essex class and Enterprise, well, in Lexington class, not Enterprise class, aircraft carriers. And, well, if you think about it, that's pretty much what the Japanese thought. They thought that the Force was stronger than it was, and the way the Force fought, they really did make themselves seem stronger than they were. They were very weak, but they fought like dogs. The Johnston was the first ship in the formation to launch torpedoes at the Japanese. They succeeded in hitting the Kumano, which that blew off its bow, and that knocked out the Kumano and the Suza. Sorry, I'm bad at pronouncing Japanese names, but it was like the Suza or something. But it took out 2 of the Japanese heavy cruisers right then, because at the Suza, I'm really sorry if I'm getting this wrong, but I'm very bad at pronouncing Japanese names, so forgive me. But they stopped and helped the Kumano, which meant 2 heavy cruisers were out of the action for the rest of the battle. And, well, that meant that you had 2 heavy cruisers already gone, which strongly suggests to the Japanese that they're facing a bigger force. That the Johnston didn't just launch its torpedoes and then run away and not come to fight the Japanese again. No, later in the battle, they engaged after they had been hit by 14-inch shells from the Congo. They turned and they charged a destroyer formation with a light cruiser leading. They fired at the cruiser turned. They fired at the next few ships, they all turned away. And the Johnston was trying to catch the escort carriers, which were fleeing away. And during this, that destroyer squadron turned back around, engaged the Johnston, and the Johnston fired off hundreds of rounds, but she finally went down. But keep in mind, you had this superior Japanese force that had seen this ship the longest, and it took them over 2 hours to destroy this ship. Over 2 hours to destroy the ship that had charged them initially, because the Japanese thought they were facing something else. And they didn't want to take risks involved with that. But now if we look at it, you have the Japanese who are, they're trying everything in their power to get the, they're trying everything in their power to attack these guys, and they're stronger, but they're pretending to be weaker, it seems. But they're not weaker. They're not really pretending to be weaker, they just didn't want to do anything. So they were overestimating Taffy 3, which they thought was Halsey's 3rd fleet, which was a huge, huge blunder on their part. If I had to say that the biggest blunder of World War II happened somewhere, it would have to be Kurita's decision to retreat that day, October 25th, 1944. But I digress. That will be another video, talking about the Battle off Samar. And then, if we look at another situation with where this quote applies, I'm thinking about it. You're weak. Appear weak when you are strong. Okay, so how many of you have been in a fist fight? I'm sure quite a few of you have. If you're in a fist fight, you're usually trying to look big and strong, which means you're strong when most of the time you're pretty weak. But the person who you're fighting, if they're dumb, they usually can't see that you're actually weak, and a lot of times what happens, what I have seen at school, is during fist fights, you'll have one person who's pretty weak, and then the other person who's strong, but the one person who's strong doesn't actually know how strong the other person is. So they'll overestimate them, and that person will be acting tougher than they are, which means the fight, they could win the fight, or the fight won't even happen because the one person's scared. That's the whole principle of this. If you look weak and you are strong, the enemy is going to want to attack you. But as soon as they're close, you reveal your true strength and you beat the shit out of them. And when you beat the shit out of them, they're not going to want to come back for more. But you've suckered them in, so there's no escaping for them. They're destroyed. And then when you have but then when the opposite occurs, strong when you are weak, appear strong when you are weak, when that occurs, what do you have? You're weak, but you have to look strong, and that is a great deterrent. I mean, there have been so many political bluffs that have been played during war based on that section of the quote alone. That's literally saying that when you're strong, that when you're weak, sorry, didn't mean to say strong, when you're weak,
our victory is in sight.
When you're weak, you want to make yourself look bigger. And I mean, another thing is, we look at when you're getting attacked by a bear. Bear attacks. Okay, bam, right off the top. What do you think when you think bear attack? Well, I think act big, stronger, bigger than you are. You're weaker than that bear. And unless you have a shotgun, unless you have a shotgun or a high-powered rifle, you're usually weaker than the bear. And even then, the bear usually won't care. So you have to look bigger and stronger and scare the bear away. And, well, that's pretty much what the quote is saying. If you're strong, then you want to act weak to sucker the enemy in. But if you're weak, you want to act strong to force the enemy to rethink their decision to attack you. And I think that that's actually a pretty good strategy. I mean, it's been used plenty of times, and it's definitely a very useful strategy, and it applies a bunch. And this may not have been a very good analysis. Sorry about this. I'm supposed to be analyzing quotes, though, and not talking about them, like, randomly and giving... Actually, I guess I am analyzing it. Forget what I just said. Anyways, though, this is a very, very good quote for fighting. I mean, if you're strong, you want to sucker someone in to fighting you, you want to look weak. And if you're weak, you want to look strong to deter them. So, yeah, that's pretty much this video. So, I mean, remember this though. If you're ever in a fight and you're the weaker of the two, make yourself look stronger. Just remember that. It can save you. So, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.